visiting with Andy Hearn, and I was a short little blurb. I was scrolling through Facebook, and I knew who you were, but I had never met you. But there was something that really caught my eye about a center that you're opening.
Yeah.
And so I want tell people, our viewers, the name of the center. Just tell us about it.
Sure,
And
yeah.
how that all
Came to.
came to be.
Yeah, sure. So, I'm Andy, like you just said. I'm opening Day One Hope Center, and the reason I'm opening a rehabilitation center is because I'm in recovery myself. I celebrated 10 years in December, and throughout my 10 years, I took some time, and I was always very passionate about helping addicts. My last bit of alcohol I drank was an attempt to end my life, and it very well should have. So in that moment when I knew things were closing down on me, that I made a deal with God that if you get me out of this, I'll help everybody I can. You know, I did say that, and He did get me out of it. It was painful. It was hard to get through all that, but so from that point on, I didn't really know what to do and how to help addicts so much, but I was just very vocal about my story, and I am sober. And I was I think at the time I was like a restaurant manager or something like that. It didn't matter where I was, but I just let people know, hey, if you're struggling with something, come talk to me, or here's my phone number, here's where you can talk, because nobody knows where to go. And so that moved to me moving people into my home.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
I had a
wow.
good family, so I would just kind of, and didn't always work out, but a couple times it did, and that's great. And at the worst, I lost a little cash and some plates or whatever.
Right.
Whatever. It was worth a shot, right?
Right.
And so all this passion to do this, and so when I moved here to Harrison, it was kind of in the back of my mind that there's no real recovery outreach here. I was just kind of looking around for it, and the church is always great, and so that was just in the back of my mind. It wasn't a big issue. I developed my own real estate brokerage back in Fort Smith. It was doing well. I wasn't really looking for a job per se, and so to back up a little bit, when I went to a rehab facility, it wasn't somebody said, hey man, I think you need to go to rehab. And I was like, hey man, great idea. Let's go to rehab. And
That's
doesn't
not
happen
usually how
that
it
way.
plays out.
Doesn't happen that way. It was years and tears and prayer and begging and offered payment. It was my family, my friends did everything to try, but I was stuck in this lifestyle that I was scared to get out of. So when I finally did go, I finally just said, fine, whatever. I had nothing. Are they going to take my cell phone? I didn't have any money. It's this big, scary building, and I don't know anything about recovery. And so it's a hard thing to say I'm turning away from this lifestyle to head toward this, and this is where I go with all these other addicts, which you just think are just dirty old,
Right.
Whatever. You have this vision. And so I go in and I walk through the steps of recovery, and it all sounds pretty nice. And then the guy tells me, well, I have a bed in 6 weeks.
Wow.
And it's not his fault. It's not his fault. They're overrun. And I expected to go in that day.
Right.
And so I was confused. And so what did I do? I left the rehab center. I relapsed. It's happened 3 times. The only reason I got into a rehab center was because of the last drink I took. And,
Wow.
And then it was urgent, right? And so I had to get in there. So my passion is to open Day One Hope Center for a couple different reasons. If you have a relative or a family member or a husband or a nephew or whoever who is struggling with addiction, and unless you're an addict, you don't truly understand addiction.
I'm sure that's true.
You don't know what to do. And for the most part, you kind of just say, thoughts and prayers, or just you kind of don't want to get it on you, or you don't know what to say, and you're afraid you're going to say something wrong.
Well, you
or
can't
mislead.
fix it.
You can't fix it. They have to fix it, and until they're ready to fix it, and that's the most frustrating thing about the whole thing, right? Well, you can turn them on to people, and you can say, hey, talk to this guy, or hey, go here, whatever, if they're ready to talk. But for the most part, nobody knows where to start. Do they just need some meetings and a phone call, and that, okay, yeah, maybe I'm headed down the wrong road? Or do they need detox and rehabilitation, and do they need that? So nobody knows what to do, right? So step one is Day One is going to be very vocal about, hey, no matter where you are in this journey, if it's you, your husband, your friend, whoever it is, just bring them here. We're going to talk to you. We're going to talk to you and say, hey, this is what we think. This is where you should go. You're welcome to come in and out of some meetings if we think we're that way, and that's free of charge. If we need inpatient, we can go a different way. Number 2, I'm building a facility that will be 10 rooms. I need much more, but I also have an overflow in the back of a church that will be set up with cots and all sorts of living materials there that will be part of Day One Hope Center. So no one will get turned away. No one. 24/7. If you show up,
Because you obviously know what that's like to not be
it's
able
a
to.
death sentence. It's a death sentence. I wish there were statistics. Obviously, there's never going to be. I wish we knew a statistic on how many people were on a wait list to get into rehab that passed away due to a relapse. I bet it's staggering. So, I mean, you found me, and it happened to me, right? And
Right.
so I will never turn anyone away. We will house them. We will feed them. We will make sure they have showers and privacy. We will start their therapy. They will come and do our group activities. All this free of charge while they wait. I've also partnered with other rehabilitation centers in the area that if they have somebody that they don't have room for, we'll go get them, or they can bring them to us, and same thing for us. If they have a bed open, I've got a guy,
Right.
he needs to get here. It all has to happen when the decision is made. We have to grasp that opportunity. And so we're going to do it. And I, to prepare myself for this, have done all I can think to do, which is to dedicate my life to it. And so I've stepped away. I've sold my real estate brokerage. I've sold my real estate. I've given everything away, and I'm jobless.
Here
of a
you are.
sort, you know. So, but it's okay. God's providing for my family. You know?
And you have a place or land already
I
for a
do,
facility,
yeah.
correct?
I do, yeah. We got 9 acres right behind Brand New Church. The pastor there, Shannon Odell, and his staff have been amazing. And I basically just said, hey, I have this idea. And he said, here it is, take this. We'll build it right here. I don't care. We just want to help people too in the area. He's very passionate about it, and his pastoral staff has been awesome.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, that can be to have a pastoral staff that can help. Because I'm a spiritual person and I believe in
Sure.
God, but not everybody's at that place.
Right, yeah.
But you see how that helped you.
I do, yeah.
And so I think having someone they can talk to from, not just from recovery aspect, but from
spiritual
from
too.
spiritual.
That's a great point too, because what we're going to be doing is, it's not going to be just licensed therapists in and out. It's going to be people like me who are in recovery. It's going to be pastoral staff. It's going to be people who run local businesses and just leaders, maybe even you, Ann. You know.
Don't you? Well, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you,
Go
but
ahead,
don't
yeah.
you find that obviously you can speak from experience, and I
Yeah.
think that speaks so profoundly to people that are going through the same thing.
Sure, because you can sit across from a counselor and they can say, you can make it through the day, but they've never been there
Right.
to where you're sweating and vomiting and the hours go by so slowly. And I can pick up a phone or I can go to the corner and I can buy the thing that's going to make me feel better. I can do it. I can do it right now, and
Yeah.
I am dead sick detoxing off this thing. It's a hard thing. Alcohol's the worst. There's not a meth store on every corner. You know what I
Right.
mean? There's not
Alcohol's
commercials
just so
with
available.
needles hanging out people's arms
Right.
and they're glorifying it. Alcohol is just very easy. So it is hard, but I am glad. For the longest time, man, I knew God, but I kind of was mad. Why do I have to go through this? You know what I mean? Because I didn't even have my first drink till I was almost 21 years old. I didn't start young or anything like that. And but as soon as I did, the hook got in my brain. I was born with this addict mentality, and it took over, and I didn't recognize it.
Now you're addicted to something else.
Yeah, now
Working out. No,
now
I
I
don't
work
know.
out a little
I don't
bit.
know. I mean,
yeah. I'm always going to be addicted. That's the thing, is I will always be an addict. All these people who are in recovery are always going to be addicts.
Right.
But what we need to do is we need to connect them. There's a really good story that says the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection, right? They did this study with these mice, and they gave this mouse 2 water bottles, one that had crack cocaine in it and one that just had water, right? So the mouse went to both bottles and then preferred the crack bottle every time, and then it would quickly die because the mouse would take in too much drugs. So they turned around and they said, okay, we're going to put these same bottles, tons of them, with around 20, 30 rats and do the same experiment. Every rat chose the clear water. Nobody wanted. So it shifts your idea on what
Wow.
addiction is, right? Because they had connection. Everybody was connected. They could run, they could play, they could have fun, they could mate, they could do everything they needed to do. So they didn't need this thing anymore. So that's my goal. I want these
Wow,
people to
yeah.
be connected. You know what I mean? You're going to connect to something. Call it addiction, call it whatever you want, but you're going to connect to something in life. And if you don't feel like you have a good, solid connection with anything spiritual or anything good or anybody who loves you, you're going to connect to the thing that makes you forget you don't have a connection.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So you have a timeline, or where are you at in the whole process?
So I'm
now?
raising.
And how can people
Sure.
help?
So I'm doing fundraisers and things of that sort. I've been lucky enough to be, doors have just flung open, really. So the state has wonderful grants for this stuff, and especially with not a lot going on right now in the area. So I'm applying for these. You know, I want to get some grants to get the building up and going. But for the most part, people who've heard my story and they've reached out and said, hey, I've got friends that have said, hey, we'll furnish it. We'll provide all the furnishings, and that's a big deal. We're talking about a full kitchen and 10 bedrooms, and you're talking several, tens of thousands
You
of dollars
bet.
in furnishing to go into a several $100,000 facility as well. So we need donations. We need people to step up and say, I want to do this, and we're kind of making it cool. Every room that you make a $5,000 donation, every client room, it will be the Ann Limley room, and you could have a picture in there, whatever it is you want to be. You could stay connected to that person, and it pays for their scholarship. So for them to stay there is $1,500 for 45 days, which is about $10,000 less than the national average because it's a private facility, and we're just not charging much. I just want to be able to pay the bill there, have them fed, and get them better, right? And so buying rooms, donating money, donating food, but more than anything else, I could talk about all the money that we need. I need people, one, that are in recovery that aren't shy to talk to addicts. I need people who are just local community people who, DJ Collins is a handyman. He has never been addiction. He's never gone down that road, but he uses his handyman service as his ministry, and he takes in addicts and he helps them and he witnesses to them. People like that who just say, hey, I want to come by and bring some food. Can I talk to the guys and tell them we love them? That's what I need. I need 100 of those. That's all I need. Outside of that, if anybody wants to get financially invested, that would be awesome too, but I'm not going to,
I think that we had up on the screen your contact information,
Yeah,
so that
great.
if someone wants to help, that would be the best avenue to
Absolutely.
go to.
And since they have it, while we're on that, if they're struggling with addiction today, please call me today. Call me today.
Your number's up there. So.
Yeah. Call that number right there, and I'll point you in the right direction. We'll find you help somehow.
Andy, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
And as it progresses, perhaps you can come back
Love
and
to.
fill us in.
Yeah, of course.
This is just kind of in the initial
Yeah.
stages now.
We've got a
but
blueprint, and we know what it looks like. We just have to build it out, and we're well on our way.
Perfect. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for
thank
being
you.
here. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ann.
All right, we're going to go to break. See ya.